All right, folks, welcome back to Zen Meathead podcast. As always, my lovely wife and handler, Sarah, Mrs. Meathead, is here. Today, we have brought in a new friend of ours, Mark Robinson. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you've been on my list for quite a while, especially, I saw a little bit of what your new company is up to and actually got to come and help and be part of it on a few projects. And it really struck me as something that people need to hear about. So we'll start out with a quote of yours, a quote that you came up with, as we always do, from Alex Hormozi. Confidence is not built by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by building up a stack of evidence that you are who you say you are. And you, sir, definitely appear to be who you say you are. So it sounded like when we first met, you had a fairly similar jump into the job world. You kind of jumped into the big tech arena. I'd love to hear a little bit about, did you do college? Did you come straight into tech? I'd love to just hear, leading up to BRANDTEGIC, what was Mark up to?
Yeah. So let's see. Went to college for almost a full year. Lasted almost a full year. Did not graduate from college.
That'd be tough to do in a year.
Yeah. So I actually studied design, industrial design. And so a lot of that was fine art, graphic design, that kind of stuff for the first year. And I loved art. I loved design. I actually went to college because I wanted to play basketball, but broke my foot 2 years in a row, senior year of high school, and then broke it again my freshman year of college.
Kiss of death.
Yep. But I also went to that college because not only did I hope to play for Bob Huggins with the Cincinnati Bearcats, that was the dream, but they also had a really good design program. And so after about 9 months of studying design, I was like, you know what? I think I'm more of a business person than a designer, even though I love design, I love art, I love the creative. But I think I'll have a design team like working for me more than me being like the designer forever. And so that being said, I left I did about a quarter of business school and realized, okay, this is a waste of my time. Not that it is for everybody, but when I was in the art school, it was one of the top in the country for design. And everybody was really passionate, like loved what they were doing, pulling all-nighters, like really believed in the art. And then I went to business school and it was a bunch of people that I didn't really know what to study. I'm just doing this because I want to party. And I was like, okay, these aren't my people, you know? And so then I got into the job world and I started doing direct sales. And then I also started in the finance world with Fifth Third Bank and couple different banks. And then after a few years, transitioned to Capital One. And that came right after I got laid off, actually, from a company before that. And that was shortly after I'd moved to Seattle. And so with Capital One, I was doing marketing, business development, sales, and kind of ushering in some new tech that they had with a lot of our clients. So that's how I ended up in big tech.
Big tech.
Yes.
Now, most people, in my experience, one of two things happens with big tech. They get involved with it and they either love it or are so addicted to the money that they never leave it, or they just fail out of it hard. Mm-hmm. You were a slightly different case. So most of my friends are of that first group where they jump in, they fall in love with it, and it's a lifelong deal for them. And it can be quite rewarding financially as well. You decided to throw it all to the wind and chase your dreams. And that is what I've found really fascinating about you is I know so many people, myself included, this podcast is a small example of deciding that maybe, having a boss and working at a certain place maybe isn't fulfilling my dreams. So in comes this company that you're now part of. You're the co-owner of?
Correct. Yep.
BRANDTEGIC.
Yes.
So we met, for the folks listening, you've probably heard some of our podcasts about the Pro Club and Sarah having done the 2020 program there.
It's the nexus of everything.
Yeah, everything is back to the 2020
right.
program at or at Pro Club. But your team was hired by the Pro Club to come out and do like a little video shoot on a success story. So I showed up one morning to be there to, carry stuff for her and all of this, and got to watch your team at work. And, that was really cool. Like very exciting nerd stuff, cameras and gear and all kinds of and there's a director there and all kinds of things happening. And then to see the finished product, which I'm going to ask the Pro Club to get permission. I'm hoping that we can post that in the notes with this to just show what you guys do.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? How do you, it feels like there's a huge crevasse there that you have to get across in order to make that decision of like, hey, I've got a cozy living and a solid paycheck that I could probably ride till the end of time. I'm going to throw all that into the wind and I'm going to go off and try to do my own thing. How did that happen for you? Like,
Yeah. I don't think that the corporate world was ever like, that was never the goal for me. And so when I ended up at Capital One, which we're calling big tech, and Capital One would call themselves big tech, a lot of people would think of them as a finance company, but they are always like, yeah, we're a tech company that happens to be in banking, not the other way around. So, but
Interesting.
yeah, they are very tech forward. They've got a lot of innovative stuff. So it was a cool company to work for, but I did not feel the position that I was in. I didn't feel like I was growing a lot. I didn't feel like, just as a person, professionally, skill-wise, I was doing a lot of like business development and relationships and that kind of stuff, which I'm good at, but it was like, okay, once you have these relationships solidified, it's kind of an autopilot and all right.
Now what?
And so I knew long-term, if I wanted to create wealth, then ownership is key for that. So that was a big thing where I'm like, okay, this isn't going to achieve what I want to achieve long-term. And then there was a creative part of me that was just kind of dying inside. And I really wanted to find a way to lean into that creativity. So I initially had the idea of starting something on the side where I was going to be doing branding and marketing and like some content, some creative work for the same clients I had at Capital One that I was already working with. So I hit up a friend of mine, Austin, who had just started BRANDTEGIC a handful of months before. And I was like, hey, I'm going to be starting something really similar to the idea you have. I want to pick your brain on, how it's going for you. So we went on a run together, and as part of that run, he's like, dude, why are you going to build your own thing? Why don't we just partner up and let's build this together? And so we did that for about 6 months before I was working 2 50-hour-a-week jobs. And I was like,
Only 2?
okay.
quitter.
Right, exactly. I was trying to hold out until like end of February, I think was my annual bonus from Capital One. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to make it till then. It'll be fine. And then it came to a point in December 2019 when we landed like 3 of the biggest clients we had at that point for BRANDTEGIC. And at the same time, my boss had flown in from Capital One like the same couple of weeks. And so I was with him the entire day. And so I was sleeping like 3 hours a day. And then I got sick at the same time. So I'm doing this and I was like, I can't do this another 3 months. And so that all happened. So I'm questioning, okay, am I going to take the leap and just dive all in? And my business partner at the time was like, hey, I'm getting offers to come on like full time with some of our clients as a marketing director. I don't think I'm going to take it, but since you're leaving your job, like I want to tell you that this is on the table and I'm at least entertaining the conversation. And so it was like, okay, this company may not even exist in 3 months, and I'm thinking about leaving the corporate world. But despite those factors, I was praying, I was meditating on it, I was reading, I was like journaling, doing all the things, right? And I read in multiple books, I heard in a couple of different sermons, and I heard on a podcast. It was like 5 times in 1 month, the parable from the Bible of like cast your net on the other side. Mm-hmm. You're not catching any fish. Then Jesus says, cast it on the other side, and you catch a whole bunch of fish. And it was like repeatedly over 4 or 5 weeks, I was hearing that. And I'm like, okay, God, I don't even know if this is going to exist in 3 months. And I might be making a terrible decision, but I had a lot of peace because I felt like I had so much confirmation and validation that like, okay, regardless of what happens, this is the right next step. So I'm going to take that step, make the leap, and see where it goes.
I love that.
It's beautiful. I do love that when you're like, I just need a sign. I just need something.
Yeah.
I keep seeing this sign over and over, but I need a bigger sign. I need like a more signier sign.
I need a signier sign.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like,
Signier sign.
yeah. And at a certain point you go, yeah, I got it. And then the next time you're like, I said I got it.
Yeah.
So at that time, BRANDTEGIC was just you two, or did you have...
We had contract videographers that would help out at some point. And then we also had a contract graphic designer that would help out from time to time.
So most of the work that you guys are doing, both of you are like right in the trenches, taking the video, taking the pictures, editing, doing all of all the work that now you have a giant team of people doing.
Yes. Well, it's funny. So I'm the least talented person behind the camera, probably of anybody on our team. So I've done that a few times, and we normally don't use any of that footage after the fact. So I'm not generally the one behind the camera. Even at that point, it was a lot of client stuff and social media stuff or marketing strategy or all the other pieces around the content. But yeah, we were doing the vast majority of, and I've got some background in graphic design too. So I was able to help out on that side. But yeah, it was mostly us, and now we've got a team that does.
How many people is the team now?
Yeah, we're 13 right now.
13, and then I assume you still hire a bunch of contingent staff for special projects.
Yeah, as big projects like you've helped out, which has been awesome. But we hire contractors as needed to help out on various projects.
That is super cool. And what does the future kind of hold for you? This has got to be exciting because you said 2019-ish is when this is happening. So BRANDTEGIC kind of comes into existence basically in early 2020.
So technically October right now, well, a few days out, I guess, from October, but October is technically 5 years. But it was really like Austin had started just freelancing on the side while he was doing real estate and had gotten business doing video for real estate. And so that's how it like officially started. But when we, I would say
incorporated together.
Yeah. Like what was the evolution? How old are we actually, or when did we become like a real company? 3-4 years, somewhere in that range. But I mean, even comparing now to like a year ago is a big difference, or to 2 years ago. So it's continued to change and evolve.
It's just continuing to shoot straight up with growth.
I mean, so there's been ups and downs. There's been like, we've gone through layoffs more than once, and so it hasn't been just you start and you grow and it's always sunshine and rainbows and everything is beautiful. And I wouldn't say that I was about to say, I wish it was like that, but you learn so much, and we would not be the same way that we are today if we had not gone through some of the rougher patches. So we've definitely refined it. And so like the goal is obviously to grow, but sometimes that's growing deeper with the right clients and having less clients, but like doing a lot more for them and redefining, okay, who's our ideal client? And then going more after that and having like deeper, bigger partnerships versus a bunch of smaller things. And so some of that has reduced our team size or our client count. So it is still growth, but it doesn't always look like growth necessarily, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious what that mental state was like. I had a few times in my tech career where I've considered wanting to move off and do something, now I'm doing like you said, you had two full-time jobs. This isn't quite a full-time job, but it does take up a fair amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tips, tricks, thoughts, for the folks that are stuck in that 9-to-5 grind and have identified definitively that, this is not my passion. This is not my dream. This is not what I want my life to look like. You're one of two examples of a younger person that I've seen. And when I say younger, I say like pre-50, that has, stepped away from a comfortable, great forward momentum type of gig and started their own thing and had huge success with it. And the funny thing is, like every time I'm around you, you're smiling, you're happy. Like talk to so many of my friends in big tech, like, fuck this job. Like it's eating my soul. They gain weight, their bodies fall apart, and it's not just a function of poor diet. Like they're under tremendous stress.
Right.
They're off the path of their mission, if you will. And I really think that, I didn't know you beforehand. Maybe this has just constantly been your demeanor, but this type of vibrancy, like people want that, how do we help others to take that leap of faith to like, hey, maybe it starts really small and you just do little bits, but like that quote was saying, you start stacking that evidence to support that you are who you say you are.
Right.
But then, you say little leaps of faith to get you used to bigger leaps of faith. But at a certain point, you can't make little jumps across the chasm.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to just go for it.
Totally.
But yeah, did you, I would assume you had a little bit of a safety net somewhere though, or did you just like YOLO and go for it?
I have a pretty high risk tolerance.
I like you. So YOLO it is.
YOLO would be probably a more accurate description. Yeah, I think another quote that I've recently been thinking about was You have to, like in life, you choose your regret. And so with that, thinking through, okay, am I going to make this leap or not? It's okay, which regret can I live with? Yeah. What story am I going to look back and think, oh, I wish I would have done this, or, hey, I'm glad I made that decision. And so I'm taking a leap by leaving the corporate world, leaving, the golden handcuffs to take a chance on myself, which if I fail at that, then I can always go back and get a new gig somewhere. And I'm not going to be really disappointed that I took a chance on myself. But if I'm 5 years down the road and I'm like, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I actually would have gone for it. Like, I don't want to live with that story, So I think, which regret could I live with? I can live with, hey, I tried this, it didn't work out. And hey, I'm going to go put myself back together and figure out what the next thing is. That I can live with.
You can always pick yourself back up, get on that horse again.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've talked about quite a bit is for the things that we're quote unquote good at, whether it's a positive thing or a negative thing, if you're trying to, get finished with a habit or, change a behavior, that you have that thing in your toolbox, in your arsenal, and you're really good at it. So like being argumentative or being judgmental or I don't know, having road rage or whatever. Like if you want to go back to it at any point, you got it in spades. So if you try something else, it's only going to lend you better opportunities. So
the skies are the limits. Yeah.
Yeah. But I remember having that similar, like what regret would I be willing to suffer down, like even in relationships, to go, wow, would I, at 75, would I look back and go, man, I wasted all of that time? Or will I sit back and go, I'm really glad I spent that time with my partner? So, yeah.
I really like that. I hadn't considered that whole looking at it from the other side. I tend to look at it so much pragmatically of like, if I step away from this job and chase my dreams and things don't work out, I've set myself back X hundreds of thousands of dollars of retirement or whatever it might be. Whereas that's a really good litmus test. Like, hey, what am I going to be okay knowing that I just passed on and
didn't
let
even
my dreams
try.
die?
Didn't even try.
Right.
Yep.
A friend of mine gave me another framework that I like to think about too. And this one does not always lead to the right decision.
I like it already.
Yeah, I'm interested.
But so he's down in Dallas. He works in, sort of big tech, but he bought into a company, has helped building a company, and with a guy that's sold a number of companies for hundreds of millions of dollars. And so he's aiming for a big exit, which he'll probably get sometime. But he lives pretty much off the grid. He's kind of a nomad. So he and his wife will take a rooftop Jeep and they built a trailer and they'll live in Colorado for like 6 months at a time and that kind of stuff. So they're always at these little bars in the middle of nowhere in little mountain towns. And he's like, you know what story I'd way rather hear sitting at the bar in some random mountain town? Because I was talking to him when I'm like, dude, I'm throwing in money to like meet payroll. Like there's times where you're not getting paid and you're putting money in so that you can pay the team. And it's not always like, oh man, this is awesome. And when you leave a corporate gig where you have plenty of money and you're like, oh man, this is great. I'm putting money in the bank, paying off debt, building up the savings, got the 401k, the match. Like, I shut it off at the end of the day and I don't have to think about it. Right. So I'm talking to him like, fuck, dude, when is this going to happen? And he's like, I'd way rather hear your story than somebody that's like, oh yeah, I'm in the corporate world. I do sales. He'd be like, I don't want to talk to that guy at a bar.
Right.
Story.
Boring.
Right. So like, what's going to create a better story? Again, that's not always the best way to make decisions, but it does lead to like, if you want to have an interesting life, then okay, what's going to make a better story actually out of this? And that's a good reframe sometimes.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah. And who are you going to be as each incarnation of yourself, right? If you're dragging yourself to work on, or if you're like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, that is what I noticed about working with everybody I met on your team. Was absolutely delightful. High energy. You could feel the passion radiating off of them. Everybody, like, yeah, they would tell me sometimes about like, hey, we get on projects and sometimes like we're on planes, we're working crazy hours, yet they're still smiling, upbeat, versus I see folks that are working 34, 40 hours a week and just absolutely hating their existence. And the problem is it just radiates off of them and just pollutes the environment around them. And that's why it was so intoxicating walking into your guys' office in Bellevue, which by the way, that spot is cool as hell. I don't know how you guys found that, but that is super slick.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a fun spot.
Yes.
Although on the way back, I was like, on a scale of no murder to definite murder, where are you taking me?
The round into that parking lot's a little questionable.
Especially this time of year, it's dark. When you leave
Right?
the building, it's like, there's fog and stuff. It's a little creepy sometimes.
Yeah.
Ominous trees, cars on blocks, back in the bushes.
Right.
And
Exactly.
We're selling it, folks. It
go
really
inside.
is
It's amazing.
It's a cool building inside.
Yeah.
So what does the future look like? I mean, obviously this is starting to, it seems like, really come together for you and the team. And obviously I would imagine, growth is the obvious answer forward, but do you have bigger plans, bigger vision? What is next for you and for BRANDTEGIC?
Yeah. There's a lot of ideas. So it's hard to predict the future and know which one's going to take off or what exactly it is. One thing that I did last year that was really fun and was another example for sure of taking a chance was I put together a conference, NFT Seattle. We had talked about that last year.
Yes.
And very different from what I'm doing at BRANDTEGIC. However, I think we will be hosting some more events, and that's kind of what made me think of it. But it was also another chance of an example of taking a chance on myself, because we locked in like a keynote speaker in Tom Bilyeu, and we threw a 3-day conference, my business partner on that project had never thrown as much as a dinner party. And he's like, dude, we are so far above our heads. The fact that we think we can pull this off while you're leading this business and you have your own podcast and you're running a company and we're putting this event on. He leads emerging tech at Starbucks and has a real estate portfolio and has another startup company that he's building. And on top of all that, we're like putting together this event. And that was actually one of the most thrilling experiences of my life. Lost a lot of money on the event, but it was probably the best experience of my life, like putting
Very
it together.
cool.
Just to see it go from, we had this idea, and then all of a sudden, 9 months later, we're on stage with 300-400 people in a room for 3 days with like some of my idols on stage as a keynote speaker. And it's like, what is it? This came from zero. You just have a thought, and turning a thought into reality is one of the most spiritual experiences ever. And so wanted to tap into more of that, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Like it's happening with BRANDTEGIC of just like leaning into this creative outlet. It happened with the conference we put together last year, which we've kind of rebranded since then as Disrupt, just because we don't want to exclusively do NFT stuff. We also don't want to exclusively do Seattle stuff, but we want to do disruptive events that are creative and forward thinking all over the place. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities within BRANDTEGIC to do that and bring together a lot of the creative community. And so we want to do some events like that within like inside of our studio. We did a little test run last week, which was really fun. So there will be more of that to come.
Excellent.
But that's one piece of it is I think like our purpose that we have solidified is empowering people to push the boundaries of creativity. And so by bringing a bunch of creatives together, whether they're videographers, photographers, graphic designers, or whether it's like an artist or a painter or a rapper or, a harp player or whatever it is, right? Like and I think everybody's creative. That's kind of core, something that we talk about is everybody has creativity inside them, and it's our job to like extract it and bring it out and put the spotlight on it. And so finding more ways that we can do that. So potentially through events, and then figuring out another thing is like, how can we create a win-win situation with contractors that we work with? Because we have our core team, and there's always a little bit of a challenge of like, okay, how do we scale with like sometimes we need contractors, sometimes we don't. We've done the up and down of like, you hire a big team because you have all these big projects, and then those contracts are over, and it's like, now we have a big team and we don't have these big contracts anymore.
Payroll's getting weird.
Yeah, exactly. So finding like, okay, how can we build something into a relationship with contractors that makes it attractive for them to want to work with us, and even if they're not a full-time team member. And so there's some things we're looking at there in terms of how we can build a community of like contractors where there's like value in them wanting to work with us or even bring business to us when they get projects, that kind of stuff. There's like an app idea that Peter and I have been talking about that could be really cool. I won't say too much on it because it's just an idea. And so who knows if that'll turn into something, but it's challenging to scale a labor intensive business in a profitable way without going crazy. And so like some of those avenues of building out tech or digital products or community are ways that we can scale without, hiring a huge team. And then like, now we're doing a ton more work, but the
money did not
overhead
scale with
chased
the
it,
overhead.
Exactly. So
It's a linear function at that point.
totally. Whereas if you're scaling tech, then hey, get more users and it's all just like
Exponential
rides on
curve
top.
starts to build.
Exactly. So figuring out what that looks like, how can we scale it in a way that makes sense? Continuing to build deeper relationships. We're kind of refining and like we're charging more, which is allowing us to do a lot more and add a lot more value and get people better results, which is fun. It's a lot more fun when you are not like trying to squeeze into this thin margin and you actually have room to be creative and like get people better results. And so it's always worth it when we charge more and then we have room to like exceed expectations.
Wow, the customer.
Totally. Versus you charge very little and then those are the clients that are like, oh, I just thought I was going to get more for this. And you're like, we are not even making money on this project.
Grocery store margins here.
So yeah, it's been fun to work with clients that are like down to do that. It allows us to be creative. So wanting to lean into more of that and clients that we're just really excited to work with and trust us to be creative. So those are some of the things top of mind. And then I see like for myself personally, I think whatever I do, I don't necessarily think BRANDTEGIC is the thing I want to build for the rest of my life as like that one thing, but I believe in the power of media and brand and all of that. And regardless of what I'm doing, whether it's a disrupt event or whether it's, putting on a conference like that, or I'm partnering up with a friend actually on like a mental health community and we're getting ready to launch a clothing line as part of it, which is going to be fun. But all of that, like there's brand and content and community as core to all those things. And so BRANDTEGIC is kind of what intertwines and like connects anything that I do in the future. So building BRANDTEGIC to be a successful company and then anything else I'm doing, it can help to power that and build that as well.
It's the foundation of every other project you want to be part of.
Right. Exactly.
The hub.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say in terms of making that leap and going out on your own? What would you say has been the most challenging piece of that?
Yeah, I think probably realizing like it's the most challenging and also probably the thing that is my favorite about it at times.
Are you a masochist? You enjoy the pain?
I think we have some things in common, Chris. Exactly. I mean, just the parts that suck is when you have to lay off, your friends or whatever. Cause I'm like a relationship guy, right? So I build relationships with people. And when you're a tight knit team, it sucks when you have to like lay somebody off and it just is what it is. Sometimes you have to do that. But being in a position where, and then unfortunately I'm good with people and I actually love people and people feel that, which makes me really good at having those conversations, which means I'm the one that gets to have them.
You're the lucky recipient always.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think just the amount of like challenging situations like that I've had to be in, like if I don't grow and I don't get better through these different scenarios, then our business doesn't get better and our business stagnates or dies. And so you're just constantly being forced to change and grow and improve myself because that is like the ceiling on the business, right? So I think that has been the biggest challenge is you can't get comfortable, which is good. It's my favorite. It forces me to grow and get better. And if I look at who I am now versus, who I was 5 years ago, like I've grown so much. But there's definitely times when you're like, man, can I just be easy for a while? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of coast.
Just chill for a bit. Yeah. For sure.
So you just like high energy all the time. Cause like, you've touched on a number of things, creating events, working with BRANDTEGIC, starting a clothing line. I know you rent your Jeep out for people to go and do trips. Like you have all of these things that are mid-process that you're working towards. From the outside looking in, it seems like you must, get up at 4 a.m. and just run straight until you pass out at 11 or midnight and then get up and repeat. Is it actually like that? Or, I mean, it seems like it might even be different if you're loving everything you're doing. I guess having a 16-hour a day wouldn't be that terrible. But it occurs to me
Disagree.
as a lot.
I would say I am generally a pretty high energy person. people also give me energy. If you look at me while I'm just like in the solace of my office and nobody's there, then I'm not like, yeah. A lot of caffeine helps with that. But when I'm around people, like people give me energy for sure. And then I think when you're pursuing something that's creative, that is in alignment with who you are too, then that also gives you energy, right? Like if I'm working on something that depletes me or I know is not aligned with my vision, then it's super draining. But when you're working on stuff that is in alignment and you believe in where you're going and it's part of this vision that you're piecing together, then that also fuels me. So when you've seen me, there's a lot of people around.
Yeah, dude,
and I'm feeling great.
Yeah.
So
you're like the life of the party everywhere I run into you at.
It's when I'm not in that mode which actually, so times where I am working a ton, which I do work a lot, but probably when I worked the most for the longest period of time, I don't know if ever, but probably was putting that event together last year on top of, so I was transitioning into the CEO role at BRANDTEGIC. And at the same time, I'm putting together this conference. And I think I put out 36 podcast episodes at the same time last year, which you guys know is, like you said, you have a second, full-time job almost.
Yeah.
Another mouth to feed.
And so
that's true.
Yeah. But I would work most of the day, and then I would either stay at the office late, but as soon as I felt myself starting to fade because it was getting late and I was running out of energy, then there's this little restaurant in Renton called the Red House, and I basically started working there.
Another
So
nexus.
you started working there?
I mean, I was pretty much on staff because I was sitting at the bar for about 4 hours almost every night, probably 3-4 days a week. I would be there.
How long ago was this?
Let's see. This was like June through September of last year.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a friend that worked there forever. So.
Okay. Well, they're under.
He's probably a legend.
Yeah. They're under new ownership as of like February of last year. So I don't know if it's same.
It's going to be the old
Yeah.
ownership.
Okay. Kessler owns it now, but he and I got on very good terms just because I was there. It's like, if I go home, I'm going to crash. If I stay at the office, I'm going to fall asleep. Like I got to come be around people and then I'm great. Then I can go for another few hours. So that's how I kind of worked the system in my favor to keep the engine going.
Social recharge.
Exactly.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We've been doing a lot of work ourselves on, we're huge into the self-improvement of any sort, but really starting to get keyed in on what your core life goal or desires are and coming up with a very short list, 3, maybe 5 things. And anytime you're struggling with something, how is this improving one of my 3 top priorities? For me, it's, things like family, friends, business. And if it's not somehow evolving or pushing those things forward, why am I spending my time on it?
Right.
So it seems like you found a lot of neat little tools to, you recognize what's happening. You have a tool to help resolve that. Like, oh, I'm running out of energy. I got to find some people and like tune in and charge up. You mentioned a number of times we have not talked. Do you have 1 or 2 podcasts? I think I've heard of 2.
So I did a podcast last year, which I did not continue doing. I went on, as soon as the event was over, I was like, I need to not do so many things. I took a 2-week trip to Costa Rica and turned everything off, like hardly checked my phone for the whole time. And then after that, I was like, okay, I might pick up the podcast next year, which I chose not to, or at least not for now. Who knows?
That was the tech financial one?
So that was marketing in the metaverse. Okay. So that was exploring what's the future of, AI, Web3, social media. Like Facebook was changing its name to Meta, the metaverse. What does all that stuff have to do with digital marketing? If I'm leading a digital marketing company, I want to be at the forefront of just where is this all headed, right? So that was that. And I mean, it kind of was relevant for that and putting together NFT Seattle, which is also very relevant for that. So I created a lot of connections.
Money of Meta.
Yep. And so that was a really fun thing. And I just learned so much by, like, you learn a ton putting together a podcast and you connect with people. So I really enjoyed podcasting, but it's so much work. And so I took a pause on it. And then Lennox is the guy who I partnered up with to put on that event last year. And he wanted to start a podcast. And so he approached me with the idea of putting one together. So we started that a few months back. We've recorded 7 episodes, only 2 are out. And that's called No Answers.
And I assume we can find that pretty much anywhere.
Correct.
All the favorite platforms.
All the places.
The general.
I have to go back for just a second. Dude's name is Lennox.
Lennox.
Like the operating system.
Yes.
He probably spells it with an E.
differently.
Yeah.
But
Well, Lennox or Linux?
Lennox.
Yeah. Okay. When you mentioned that, and I'm sitting here like, No way. We've got some guy in the tech world with the name of like,
Right?
It sounds like somebody that nicknamed themselves.
yeah. It's my hacker name. And I said that and totally brain farted where I was headed next with this.
Well, I have another question since
Do it.
I was going to ask it earlier and you just...
Piled over you.
Yes. What's happening here?
It's on my face. I was just wiping
Good
it
golly. All right.
off. Just got to prod.
It's okay. The camera's on that side.
I know.
Yeah.
I was just like...
That's why I haven't touched it yet, actually. Finally, I was like, I have to.
compulsions. What has been the most surprising part of taking that leap of faith and being a part of this project?
I think it is harder than I expected. I think I had very unrealistic expectations of, because I've never only done one thing. There's a very short period of time where I only did one thing. When I first joined Austin at BRANDTEGIC and left Capital One, there was I discontinued any side projects when COVID hit for about a year. All I did was build BRANDTEGIC. Outside of that, I've always done multiple things. But I think even back to college, I was studying in college and I was always, whether it was buying websites and trying to build it up and flip it, or I was always pursuing different entrepreneurial ideas of how can I make this happen? And I just always felt you know what? I don't even think other people are trying that hard. Most people are just comfortable and complacent. And if I just work my ass off, I'm going to pass everybody. I think I naively felt I was just going to outwork everybody. And it was going to be by the time I'm 25, 30, multimillionaire, no problem. This is going to be stupid. And that was not the case. So there's a lot of resetting of expectations that happened along the way. Not because I didn't work hard either. It wasn't I wasn't working hard. It was just I had to constantly reset. Okay, this is actually going to take a lot more work. And maybe I'm not the only one that's actually working really hard. A lot of people really want, crazy results and are actually doing the work for it. And so, yeah, I think I did not realize how hard it would be.
Yeah. Well, we're, at least in my profession, the biggest hurdle is accurate cost, figuring out what it's actually going to cost you. And then, if you equate that to something like the regret conversation where you go, okay, what is that regret actually going to cost me? In my mind, my mental health, my longevity, all of that. So
You hope it's just money.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the joke we have. If you can fix it with a check, then it's an inconvenience, not a problem.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, yeah, that was really what I wanted to talk with you about today. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to explore because I have huge aspirations and dreams of doing some other things. So anytime I meet somebody like you, I'm like, what has this guy figured out? I need to pick his brain and get the little tidbits, and just figured the best way to have this conversation was to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I'm honored that you guys brought me on here.
I really appreciate it. Like I said, I would love to get all kinds of stuff in the bio. I'd love to highlight some of your work and let people know, good Lord, if you need any type of help with social media, advertising, whatever it might be, go find BRANDTEGIC. Look them up. You guys are on Instagram. I see a bunch of your stuff.
For sure.
They highlight all kinds of cool stuff there, stuff you've never even considered before. And it's very apparent they're very good at what they do. So
BRANDTEGIC, BRANDTEGIC, strategic with your brand.
yes.
People always call it BRANDTEGIC or BRANDLogic. And it's
No.
oh,
It's not it.
BRANDTEGIC. It was such a brilliant play on words.
Right?
Right? Don't you get it? It's not as funny when I have to explain
exactly.
Exactly.
it. Right. Well, do you have any questions for us?
I'd never even thought of even asking that.
I know. It was pretty apparent. That's why I swooped in right before you were going to.
Close it up. There we go.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you said you have aspirations outside of, but I feel like you've done it. You're somebody that I look at and who has been successful, but is also pursuing creative pursuits and that kind of stuff. And Sarah, I don't know you as well. I don't know your story as much as I know of Chris, but what's that journey been looking like for both of you so far?
You want to start?
No, I want you to start.
Alrighty. I knew I wanted to be in big tech. In fact, I knew I wanted to be at Microsoft when I was 12 years old. Ended up there at 19 and spent 15 years there as a full-timer. I've been there another 5 years on various contracts and vendor gigs. And for the longest time, it was the end all be all to me. I was so passionate about it, so excited about it. But as I got later and later into my career, I started losing that passion. And I think a lot of it was around the fact that big tech, Microsoft, Google, any of the big ones have evolved to such a point that you're the little fish in a big pond. And in order to do similar to what you've been doing, having these disruptive ideas and really changing the landscape of things, you kind of have to go and jump in and be the big fish in a small pond. So throughout my career, I drank like an asshole and smoked a lot of pot to combat high levels of anxiety and stress and crazy hours. So I was always on, and lo and behold, I gained a ton of weight. I started having all kinds of wicked back issues. My body was just falling apart. I was not enjoying my quality of life. And then I started, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years ago, getting into all kinds of different modalities, kind of going into biohacking. Mm-hmm. And we've amassed so much knowledge around ways to help people evolve and push through these boundaries that they oftentimes have created in their own minds. We want to share. That was kind of how this podcast started. Originally, I was going to just do a Joe Rogan, like I'm going to get high with my buddies and talk shit.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the lines, That's
what I thought I signed up for. But,
Right?
Where's the pod, dude? Sarah, at one point, finally, I'd been talking about it forever and ever. She's like, just do it. Pull the trigger, spend whatever money you need to do. Just make this happen. I had her on the first episode, and ever since then, we've kind of been chasing topics around self-improvement. And there's all kinds of ideas that I have in mind about, books and programs and all. Like, it's not like money would be great, but the reality of it is the feel good, the charging of helping someone else to improve their own quality of life and experience. Like, whew, that's a good drug. That's one I want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and from my perspective, we've always been a very passionate relationship, but not necessarily well directed at times. And so as we have grown and aged significantly together, and experienced these different things in life, like being parents and, having turmoil and strife and family stuff and work stuff and all of this stuff, we've figured out what works for us. And it is kind of a brain dead solution. Like, once you get over the fear of just being completely honest, and whatever groundwork you have to do before that to get to that point, it has made such a difference in our lives, in the way that we communicate and the way that we are parents and partners and bosses and employees and all of these things that, it would be a shame not to share that and try and help people have the opportunities that we have, because we're not anything special. Like, we're special, like, everybody's special, but like, there's nothing uniquely noteworthy about us. And yet we still have that as a drive. So like, one of the things I love to do is teach people wake surfing.
Wake surfing is one of my favorite things in the world.
Oh, mine too.
So
we'll be hanging out next summer.
Yes, please. We could do it. Anyway.
If you want to go get like
cold,
wet in the rain right now.
Anyway,
need some tequila to warm me up, but then might be down.
I love the idea of helping people be able to embrace something that is something that's so close to my heart, and also is it is a natural indicator of health. And so as you do it, you get more healthy, and it's a great thing. And I can do that in a way that brings joy to my heart and brings joy to other people's hearts. And it's that kind of feeling that I'm chasing in this process. And having been in a place where I didn't grow up with boats. And so being able to do this as a gift, or, I went to a liberal arts college and was an English major, theater minor. The fact that I am a software engineer just blows my mind every day. So I look at it and just go, so fortunate, so blessed, you know, and to have all of these things in my life. Like I want other people to have the same opportunities or better opportunities. So yeah, that's kind of what got me into this. And so, you know, as we've been elevating our own existence, that was where elevating humanity one conversation at a time really came into play. Like that's our vision and mission for this.
Yeah, I love that. It's
Who knows
beautiful.
what it's going to turn into.
Something I love about you guys too is you're very humble. Like, and I knew that about Chris coming in like before today, but just hearing you speak, that like comes through as well.
Yeah.
But even, you know, having been successful before you know, go all in on creative pursuits and doing the podcast and whatnot, just saying, hey, can I just come in and like help out in the studio just so I can learn more about equipment and video and audio and all that like most people that have already been very successful in their career and whatnot are not just like volunteering their time for free, eager to learn and contribute, which we do pay you. But it's like, it's just that eagerness to help and learn, and you're like hungry to grow, and the humility, like your ego is not present, right? So I respect that a lot, and it's been fun to work alongside you and have a conversation, getting to know you guys even better.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Well, as always, stay elevated, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.